One major criticism about technology-mediated teaching and learning is how the absence of face-to-face interactions could impact the quality of education in this mode of instructional delivery, probably because of the lost opportunity to observe nonverbal communication, which could be a form of feedback to the teachers and could inform improvement in teaching strategies towards better achievement of the learning outcomes. This is not exactly true, since the moment learning becomes technology-mediated, there is that opportunity to capture the same set of information, or even more, through learning analytics. So what exactly is learning analytics? The e-learning industry defines learning analytics as the process of collecting, analyzing, and interpreting data generated by learners during their e-learning journey. This data may include their interactions with the course content, assessment performance, time spent on different modules, and even engagement levels. The main objective of learning analytics is to identify patterns, trends, and correlations that can provide valuable information to optimize the learning experience. In a usual e-learning setup, the learning management system being used by the institution already has that basic feature of collecting the data mentioned and can enable the teacher to analyze the performance at the individual and class levels in just one platform or site. As a teacher in a technology-mediated mode, how do I use the data from learning analytics? What is very useful to me is the information on the last log-ins of the students. It can be the parallel of checking the attendance in the residential mode of instruction. If some students haven't logged in or accessed the course site for more than 2 weeks, for instance, then that is already a signal for me to take action, as the usual expectation in my case as a teacher is for the students to access their course site at least once a week for about an hour, depending on the learning activity scheduled for that week. A message can be sent to the students who have not been accessing the course site to check what could be the problem. If a learner support is necessary, then the student can be referred to the office concerned for the appropriate intervention. In some cases, the message just serves as a reminder to the student that the course is ongoing and that the teacher has noticed his or her absence. The data also helps me in determining, in a way, which course materials are difficult to understand by checking the amount of time spent by the students in engaging with the content and the performance of the students in the learning activities for the specific lessons. It can be a signal to me to probably look for other materials or supplement the materials with a recorded video lecture so I can further explain, even provide examples for the concepts the students find difficult to understand. The data can also be analyzed further to determine correlations between and among variables associated with the learners to improve technology-mediated teaching strategies, anchoring them on the relevant domains of quality in this mode of instruction. From these examples, we can already see how learning analytics can provide a data-driven quality assurance system which the university can develop. It is important that initiatives and innovations in the teaching and learning processes are supported by data, which can be drawn from learning analytics. In short, learning analytics can facilitate data-driven decision-making. Relevant insights can be drawn from the proper interpretation of data to enhance the teacher's teaching strategies and improve the learning experience of our students, which is also an indicator of quality in all modes of delivering instruction, not just the technology-mediated, but also the residential instruction. How else can educational institutions use learning analytics? Let us try to situate them to the different methods of analyzing data collected from learners. First is the descriptive analytics that looks into historical data, in order to identify patterns or trends. Again, quoting the e-learning industry, educators can understand a student's strengths, weaknesses, and preferred learning styles by analyzing individual data. Using this information, teachers can tailor the content and assessments to meet each student's unique needs and in the process, maximize their learning potential, or what is commonly called personalized learning. Personalization of the learning journey for each student is something that technology-mediated teaching and learning is in a better position to do. Try to imagine the cost or the resources involved if this will be designed and implemented in the residential mode of instruction. Related to this is the identification of the learning gaps through learning analytics. The data can enable teachers to pinpoint areas where learners might be struggling or encountering difficulties, thus resulting to learning gaps. I mentioned earlier how learning analytics built into the LMS that we are using at UPOU can provide me with this information. To avoid these learning gaps, appropriate actions can be taken by the teacher before moving on to more advanced topics. The targeted approach enhances the overall learning experience and boosts student success rates. In my almost 30 years of teaching in a technology-mediated mode of instruction, we are always reminded that in designing learning in our courses, we should facilitate the different types of interaction: learner-learner, learner-teacher, and the learner content, which are deemed important to facilitate learning. If the whole class in general has low level of engagements in these various types of interactions, then it can be a signal to the teacher to design more engaging content and interactive activities, and in the process, foster a positive and dynamic learning environment. Diagnostic learning analytics can be employed in this situation. Diagnostic analytics tells us why it happened by employing processes such as data mining and data discovery to determine the causes of such behaviors among our students. Is it the course material? Is it the arrangements or layout of the different features of the course site? I remember one incident wherein 2 weeks into the semester and not a single student had logged in the course site. It was weird. Upon further investigation, we found out that the course site was not set to show, which will make it visible to the students. Assessing the effectiveness of the course, which is another major use of learning analytics, can be done through diagnostic learning analytics. Earlier, I also mentioned that learning analytics can provide teachers with information on the amount of time spent by the students learning a specific lesson, their scores or performance in the various learning activities, and the completion rates, even at the level of course requirements. The data can help teachers identify areas where the course may need adjustments or enhancements. Continuous improvement of courses leads to better learning outcomes and increased student satisfaction. In fact, documented efforts on data-driven course improvement initiatives can also be considered as evidence of the culture of quality of the institution. The third method, the predictive learning analytics, can be used to anticipate student performance and behavior. By identifying potential challenges early on, educators can implement proactive measures to support struggling students, thus reducing dropout rates and ensuring a successful learning experience for all. It is important, therefore, for an academic institution who is into technology-mediated teaching and learning to understand these added values of using learning analytics and to facilitate, or better yet, ensure the integration of this feature in the learning management system. I also mentioned earlier the data-driven decision-making, which can also be done through the proper interpretation of the data from learning analytics. This is the fourth method of using learning analytics, or what is called the prescriptive analytics. Informed by the data, we can recommend actions to improve the outcomes of the various aspects or components of a technology-mediated teaching and learning. An academic institution usually have records, like minutes of meetings, that can be considered as evidence or supporting documents on how learning analytics is being used to ensure quality instruction. Individual practices of teachers can also be further examined. In fact, university administration can also use analytics to evaluate performance of the teachers, which can also show the empowering potential of analytics in a technology-mediated teaching and learning.